Our next speaker is Madeleine Crohn, Senior Project Manager of the Global Campaign, which is a project of the National Criminal Justice Reform Program of the Open Justice Society Initiative. The campaign seeks to promote rights-based pretrial detention and legal aid reform as an issue of priority on the justice agendas of federal relevant governments, private and state donors, and intergovernmental organizations. Madeleine is based in New York. Recently was the country director in Romania for the ABA Rule of Law Initiative, leading the organization's office in Bucharest. Resume goes on and on, but I won't. I'll turn it over to Madeleine.
Thank you. I work for the Justice Initiative, which is a small NGO within the Open Society Foundations. We're not grant makers, we manage programs. One of our programs is the Global Initiative for Pretrial Justice. I want to acknowledge the partnership that we have with another component within the Open Society Foundations, which is a grant maker that focuses, it's the Global Criminal Justice Fund, and which has supported quite a number of programs around the world to deal with pretrial detention and increase access to justice, and particularly at the pretrial stage and early interventions. And in fact, my colleague who will shortly follow me is one of their grantees, and I think has a lot of very useful information to share with you. There is a description of what the Global Campaign is about, and we have folders over there, and I encourage you to take copies. So I'm not going to repeat what's in the folders. Rather, I'll try to tell you why we embarked on this campaign, because we're passionate about it. My colleagues in New York have been dealing with pretrial detention in Latin America, sort of the counter-reform movement of what happened in the 80s and the 90s. My colleagues in Budapest have been trying to develop systemic legal aid and access to counsel programs throughout Central and Eastern Europe, all the way to Mongolia, by the way, but also some efforts in countries which have almost no lawyers, such as Malawi, Sierra Leone, or Nigeria. And as they talked, they realized that a pilot program in Mexico in the state of Morelos for supervised release, or a couple of programs in Africa were not going to grab world attention. And therefore, the Global Campaign. The Global Campaign is going to be short-term. We probably are going to work on it for another couple of years, maybe more 3 years. It's supposed to be a catalyst. It's supposed to say, this is a terribly important issue that most governors, most governments, most donors, even human rights organizations don't even pay attention to. And when they realize that there are significant toxic consequences of a dysfunctional pretrial process of criminal cases, it really messes up the rest of the system. It's a symptom as well as it contributes to bad handling of criminal cases. And who are the people who are in pretrial detention around the world, including the United States? Poor people for the most part, arrested for relatively minor crimes, while those who could be truly dangerous can bribe their way out, or can buy their bondsman release. I mean, can have access to bondsmen. Right now, there are 3 million people who are sitting in jail, waiting for trial around the world, some of whom have been in jail for 10 years without appearing before a magistrate. And I'm not even counting numbers from China because we don't have them, or the increasing numbers in the United States. So we figured 2 or 3 pilot programs, again, wouldn't catch fire, and we want to put the spotlight on what we think is an overlooked, misunderstood, underestimated issue that has to do with human rights, that has to do with administration of justice, that has to do with a functional and credible system of criminal justice around the world. One of the things, like all campaigns, we first focused on legitimizing the issue, providing again, the spotlight, terrible public health consequences, open door for corruption, use of torture, of physical degradation in order to obtain confessions, often from the wrong person, which doesn't make, as far as I'm concerned, the victim particularly happy. In addition, it increases poverty. It really contributes to the destitution of people who have been arrested, kept in jail, and we have documented those things. We are also documenting the fact that something can be done about it. It's not intractable. It's a huge problem, but we have different ways of dealing with it, whether it's a pretrial supervised release program adapted to the local norms and culture of Latin America, or it's paralegal programs supervised by attorneys in countries where there are almost no legal representation available, and early intervention at police station can help identify people who could be safely released and have sureties and family members and so forth. So the problem is huge. I mean, for example, some of the pandemics about public health are direct consequences of unnecessary pretrial detention. There are solutions. We are now in Africa, in Latin America, in the US, and in Europe with different strategies trying to address the issue involving government, involving donors. We're trying to organize those constituencies. We haven't gotten to Asia yet. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But we're trying to make sure that those who have with us agreed that this is an important issue, and it's NGOs, it's human rights, it's corrections, it's police, it's magistrates, it's prosecutors, who say, yes, if we can find solution to this issue, it's useful to us. We hope to mobilize them and be a catalyst, and we're also talking to donors to try to replicate or scale up some of those programs, and that's what we're trying to do. Probably for the next 2 or 3 years, we also have a good colleague who has been dealing with violent crime and crime prevention. It all fits. What I'm trying to say is, if you haven't paid attention to this issue, maybe you should, because it is symptomatic of the dysfunctional criminal justice system, and you start with the cellar, you don't start with the roof to build the house. That's it. Oui? En français?
Okay.
Yeah.
My colleagues are both fluent in French. They found out that I took high school French, and they started talking to each other in French just to challenge me. So.
Yeah, we're teasing you. I mean, giving you a hard time.
Of course.
Whatever.